And then
Is that
Easy.
Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Advisory Board meeting of August 21st, called meeting to order at 7:05. This evening we have a short agenda to go over a couple things, a few votes to do, but also I wanted to let the board know that we have a couple of potential new FinCom members that are joining us in the audience to check us out and see what it's like. I've spoken with both of them on the phone, and there's another potential third member that couldn't come tonight, so I've invited them to come see what the board is like, ask any questions that they have, to see what we're like, to see, we're a fun crew, and then they'll be speaking with Beverly next if they're interested in it. But I think this is good because a lot of times we've had people in the past who just get on it and all of a sudden 6 months into it say, this is not at all what I thought it was gonna be, and so.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna be going with that. And welcoming back Andy Beliveau, we haven't seen you for a while, welcome back.
Thank
Nice
you.
to have you back.
Thanks. It's good to be back.
We're much more fun to hang around till 10 o'clock at night than your job, yes?
Yes.
The other
yeah,
gentleman.
sure. That is true.
Okay, we got, first thing on the agenda is a couple of reserve fund transfers. Mike, do you want to explain what's happening here?
Yes, both of them are for insurance purposes. One is the property and casualty insurance, and the other one is for workers' comp.
I don't have any copies of that.
And we get our estimates from Maya during the budget process, and they try to give us a picture of how much, percentage there's going to be an increase, and then we usually have a little bit of a cushion because we get participation credits during the year for attending training sessions and things like that. And we also, if we pay the full premium up front in the first quarter, we get a 5% discount. And that adds up because 5% of the 200,000 is $10,000 in property and casualty, and it's 100,000 in premium for workers' comp, so there's another $5,000. And between those, we've been able to adjust for any increases after the town meeting, because that's when we get our bill. We don't really know. It's not the best way to run a railroad, but that's the way the state legislature does things, because, we don't know what our revenue figures are gonna be until June 30th. And then
If we're lucky.
Yeah, this year
If we're
was,
lucky,
more like July 30th, and they're still adjusting
I was
it.
gonna say, still not final yet.
Right.
Yeah.
They keep telling us that we're gonna get what we got last year, and and that's what I budgeted, so that's what we budgeted, so hopefully that's where it will settle. With workers' comp and property and casualty this year, this is not to, point fingers or anything, it's just a fact. The property and casualty claims have been really, really bad the last 2 years.
Really?
We lost the roof on the Pearly School a couple years ago.
That was 2 years
3
ago.
Yes.
And that didn't hit until last year and this
Oh.
year. And that was a huge loss. So our property and casualty, and they had other, quote, minor, but not so minor, 25,000 here, 25,000 there. Sooner or later, that adds up to real money. Also, in the workers' comp, we had that horrific accident
A few years
a couple
ago, yeah.
years ago, and
Right.
that's staying with us for, our experience mod will carry that for 3 years at a minimum. So, and we also had in workers' comp they figure out the premium based on our payroll. So we give them an estimate of our payroll every year. And we're usually spot on, within 1%. Well, this year, when they did the audit, and they do the audit at the end of the year after we've paid our bill and all the budgeted money is gone, they came up with actually, they showed that the workers in the cafeteria at the school were misclassified. And that ended up in costing us an extra $10,000 in our workers' comp insurance. I didn't realize this, but the cafeteria workers, as far as workers' comp and the danger of their positions, are just under linemen at the electric department and public works.
How far back do we get penalized for that?
Just 1 year.
Okay.
Who does the audit? The insurance company
A
does their own
third
audit?
party.
Oh, a third party.
Maya
does.
hires somebody else to do it. I challenged it. I don't know how they got misclassified.
Now, how it's probably been years, right?
Yeah, it had to be some
Yeah.
type of clerical error, but luckily they only hit
Someone
us
just
for
kept
this-
missing it all the time?
for this year. Somebody put something in the wrong column and it just stayed there. But,
Wow.
so, our costs, were a lot higher than what we budgeted, is the bottom line. And we're looking for an additional $20,000 to cover the property and casualty, and an extra $4,352 to cover the workers' comp.
So this is, you're gonna pay it all at once, you're gonna pay the
Yeah, we
premium
have
up front.
until the end of the first quarter to pay it. We can, and that will allow us to take an additional 15,000 off the bill.
Okay.
But we're still in that much of a deficit because of the increases.
Okay.
And after we vote these, I know we're gonna be down on, remaining balance is gonna be 71,000. Are we looking at any lawsuits or anything? Are we going to need to do anything at fall town meeting to replenish reserve
Yeah, I was
funds from
just
free
thinking,
cash?
if you're taking that kind of money
That's a-
out of
that's a
it,
huge
is there
chunk.
any free cash? What do we got for free cash?
I don't know yet.
Will we have 20,000 at least?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
We'll have
to
Yeah,
replenish
so we
that.
could,
several
we
hundred
probably should.
thousand.
Okay,
Yeah, because the only other alternative is to wait until fall town meeting and pay this, but
Then
We don't have to do that.
lose
We-
$15,000.
But just one question, if we pay them the 24, then essentially, are we not having to pay 15? I mean, is there only a $7,000 difference?
No,
Is that?
no, we're
9,000? It's-
we're counting
You're
that
counting that,
discount.
oh, okay, so it's the whole 24,
It is.
okay.
okay. Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to move from the reserve fund to line item 19951, vehicle property and liability insurance, the amount of $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to move from the reserve fund to line item 19121, workers' comp insurance, line item, the amount of $4,352.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, super.
Thank you.
Yep, actually, we'll just start it around that way. You guys have a pen? Do you need a pen?
I'm not gonna pin here, thank you.
Alrighty, the next item that we need to vote on, if we wanna take a couple of minutes, I passed out minutes from, we have a lot of minutes by September time,
haven't?
I know we haven't voted on a lot of minutes, it just was one of those years. I'm gonna put together a full email packet or whatever for everybody to look at those. I gotta go through all of Robin's
Yeah,
emails.
why don't we do them, or do you
We
need these to be done?
Mike needs these two done.
Oh, he
because
does,
These
okay.
are the votes, these are the presentations and the votes that were taken in regards to the CPC articles that are being bonded, and bond council needs them. Did I miss anything, or is that,
No,
that's
that's
it?
correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, if we can take a few minutes. I'm pretty sure we have already reviewed these at one point and probably ran out of time getting ready for a meeting to actually vote on.
My only comment is, I take a brief hiatus from the board and you pass over the capital fund article?
See?
Unbelievable.
We passed over voting, not, what are you
Recommended
talking
to
about?
pass over Article 13-4.
Where are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. April.
13.4, yeah. We didn't put any money in the capital fund this year.
I'm appalled.
Bye.
Teasing.
You have to show up to fight for what you want.
I'm teasing.
No, we did, but we
I saw
did,
you spend some money though.
but we spent some money,
Oh,
and we
very
put
nice.
some
Oh,
money,
yeah.
money in the
Oh, yeah.
operating, and we spent some money. Yeah, and I think what we were talking about is with that particular, that capital fund, is to wait and use the fall town meeting
Yep.
to actually replenish that particular capital
Is it all
fund.
gone? Or
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
good?
A couple 100,000 still there.
you'd be very proud of us.
We,
yeah.
Yeah.
And your name came up quite often when we discussed capital, too.
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah, it's like, it's a good thing Andy isn't here.
when we didn't do the capital fund, that's right. That's right.
yeah, that was kind of left out of the minutes.
I was driving
You
down.
know, as much as I can remember, this all looks
Yeah,
okay
this is-
to me.
Looks okay to me, too.
Any other questions, all right? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 20th, 2013.
So moved?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the minutes from, oh, I didn't write
April
down-
3rd.
April 3rd, I wrote down the wrong date here. April 3rd,
So
2013.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, I'll remove the draft. I'm gonna put on there approved and the date we approved them for you. Okay, next item, that we need to make sure we, in case somebody has to leave early, we have a quorum for voting. We have appointments. We need an appointment for school building, appointment for CIP, and CPC. Now, in regards to CIP, we're not up and running on CIP yet, so we can wait until new members join the board, right? To see if anyone's interested in that. Do you have anything coming in the next month?
No, we don't.
Okay, all right.
CIP can.
CIP can wait. CPC, I know, cannot wait. We need to have,
That's right.
someone, and is there any interest? Does anybody have any interest?
I volunteer.
Okay, great. Accept a nomination for Ed?
Oh, I moved
Do we have to,
that
do we have to
no-
nominate him? Or do we just have to take a vote?
Um,
I forget.
yeah, you should,
We should
Nominate?
nominate him
Yeah.
and then vote.
Okay, I move that we nominate Ed Obie to be our representative on the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Okay, and do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, motion carries. All right, so CIP can wait. Do the selectmen have a CPC representative? Do they?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, and school building. What's the status? How fast do you, I know you need somebody, but we've.
Well, they've made it through the summer without too much difficulty reaching a quorum. And once things go out to bid, you know, basically all the design work is done for the Pembroke School. We kind of morphed into the Goffstown Middle High School Committee, feasibility committee though. So that's a whole new project starting up. It's much, much smaller.
Goffstown, I mean Georgetown.
Did I say Goffstown?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like,
Georgetown,
what the hell?
sorry.
What did you say, Goffstown? I didn't even hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Wow.
heard Georgetown.
That was 20 years ago. So, and that's at the study phase.
Can that wait until September too, until we have some potential new members on the board to see
Yeah.
if anyone's interested in joining on that?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we can
Okay.
hold off on that. It was just the
Okay.
CPC
I
was
know.
critical.
Okay. All right, so the status of the board is, right now, we have 5, we have potential 3 new members for 8. And there's other folks that are still, we still have a position open. You had brought up at one point, and,
Yeah.
and I think that's something, I don't know if we have to, oh, you guys gotta keep signing.
Oh, sorry.
Did you have a chance to look that up, Mike? I don't even remember if I formally asked you to look that up. Can we go to can a FinCom go to a 7-member board, or does it need to be a 9-member board according to the state?
I didn't look it up.
Thank you. I would think that we could.
The reason being is
the
for a
size.
quorum, because then it's a quorum of 7.
Right.
4.
4,
excuse me,
yeah. Of course, that's an even number, is that a?
But I'm wondering if it can be similar to like the CPC of a minimum of 7, but you can go up to 9.
Oh, whatever. It's just so unusual for us to have 9 members.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's been a couple of years since we've had 9.
Even, I don't think even back when I was chair that we always had 9, that I can remember. But anyway, I just think it's
That may be
unusual and it's getting more difficult.
Bylaw,
A bylaw for us.
that's the state law. I'd have
Oh,
to check.
oh, is it? You think it's a state law? Huh.
No, I think it's a bylaw, not
There
a
you
state
go.
law.
So we could change it.
Right, and that's what I bring it up now, because if that's something that can be changed at fall town meeting to a minimum of 7 with a maximum of 9. It
That-
gives us
that would be fine.
the flexibility, because then if all of a sudden we do have, a clamoring of people who wanna join the board, you don't wanna sit and discourage them if we can't get up to a
That's true.
9-member board.
That's true.
And it's not, but it is difficult, I
But
know.
then how do you determine, the problem is how do you determine the quorum?
If you have
I mean,
9
that
members,
quorum
it's
number is
5.
sort of cast in stone in a way.
Well, no, if it's a 7-member board, it's 4 members is the
Okay.
quorum. Yeah, it's over the 50%,
If it's 9, it's
5,
5, if it's
It's
8,
eight.
it's 5.
8. It's five.
8 is 5 too, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If that works, that's fine, that.
If legally that can
Yeah.
be done, so.
Okay.
Does the board,
Would the selectmen have to approve that, or?
It may be a
That's something we
town
do?
meeting vote,
yeah,
if it's a bylaw
If it's a
change.
bylaw, it has to be approved by town meeting.
Okay.
We could do it in the fall. If the selectmen want to put it on a warrant.
Right.
They control the warrant.
okay. One of the other things I handed out tonight was, the standard operating procedure that we've done quite some time ago. I believe, Jim, we did this, you put this together in 2004, and we voted on it in 2005.
So, yeah.
So,
It's been a while.
it's been a while, and in speaking with Mike, one of the, because I'd asked him today, and I'm chatting with him, that were the selectmen interested in doing anything different in regards to the budget process, and like I said, given my brain the past couple months, who knows, I may have dreamt it while I was in the hospital, I don't know. But, trust me, it could happen. And not so much that, but so the DOR in their report suggested that we have a bylaw stating the budget procedure. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, it was just one of their one of their 31 suggestions, but they feel our process is really good. They think it's excellent. But they think we should codify it in either a bylaw, or they prefer a charter. That's one of their major
Right.
recommendations
Is that
is
we
a
have a charter commission, yeah.
Well, most towns are not going, there's 2 ways to do a charter. One is by commission,
Yeah.
and the other one is by special act. And virtually no one is doing charter commissions anymore.
Oh, 'cause, yeah, that's a kind of a restrictive way to go about it, yeah.
It's very restrictive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the amount of time, the number of members
People have
on
to
it.
be elected, and then it's either an up and down vote on what
At
they
least-
recommend.
Yeah, once the committee gets elected, it's an 18-month process. So we'd have to wait for a whole, for the next election cycle to even get somebody elected. but the special acts legislation, the town has used special acts legislation for a lot of things. We went from
they
3
did.
to 5 selectmen that way.
Yeah.
They changed the duties of the finance director that way. That was a special act.
But what would the special act be? Once.
Special act charter.
Oh, okay. So once the charter is decided on by whatever process, then you do the special act with the legislature.
Yes. And it has to.
But what would be the process to get to that point?
Charter, well, right now, the way the selectmen want to deal with it is keep it as a selectmen's charter committee,
Oh,
based on the 31 suggestions of the DOR.
okay.
You know, basically, it's been laid out for them. They haven't decided they're going to accept every one of those
Right.
suggestions, that's all they are. But they would want to present a charter to the town meeting, a draft charter, and the town meeting then votes yes or no. And if it gets a vote yes, it goes to the legislature.
Okay.
House reviews it, the Senate reviews it, and approves it, and then the governor has to sign it. So it does take at least a full legislative session,
Yeah.
um,
Right. It's a long
but-
process anyway.
but it's, it's a year-long process at
easy.
least.
Yeah.
For the
easy.
charter.
For the special,
For the whole thing
Act
to be
charter,
completed, I would
yes.
think. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. To do the charter, then give it to them, and it takes them a long time sometimes.
it would be
to get that
approved by the legislature by June 30th of this year if it gets to, well, no, I take that back, because that only gives them about a month and a
Yeah.
half to review it if we pass it at town meeting. So it
And this
could-
should be done
It
at
would
an
be,
annual
I
time.
would think it would be almost 2 years before it would be the following fiscal year when you would implement the,
Right.
yeah, well, that's,
Has the I'm not up to date on this, has the recommendations changed for the structure of the town? As far as the administration of the,
Yes,
okay.
I was gonna say, I don't think did you send that to us?
yeah.
I'm
Did-
pretty sure.
I have it,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Do
He,
you?
he sent it out in an email.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll have
I
to look,
must have
I'll look
missed
and
it, so-
re-forward it again.
Yeah, okay.
In regards to these 31 suggestions, and we're the Finance and Advisory Board, will the selectmen entertain our advice on financially related, budget and financially related,
think so.
our
Oh,
opinion?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I mean,
think so.
they're not gonna do it in a vacuum, and
Right,
they
okay.
hold public hearings as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know the history of change,
Whatever do you mean?
so they wanna avoid repeating past
Yes, indeed.
mistakes.
Really? Jim and I know a little too well of
We have
that.
some
Yes,
experience
you've both
with
been chairs of
Yes.
form of government committees.
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
We have.
Okay, and that's why I expressed my concern about putting the budget process in a bylaw per se, because there already is a bylaw that we're not following as it is, per se.
Which is
And-
what?
Because the bylaw says, because we can't. Well, the bylaw says by the third week of March is when the town administrator gives us the budget. We can't
It's a
have,
bylaw?
that's a bylaw, so that.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
so,
Well, one of the 31 suggestions, on top of get a charter, is do a complete bylaw review and go through them and throw out
Yeah, that's,
the old and.
yeah, that makes,
and
yeah.
wow.
Bring
You
the
should,
others up
yeah,
to
and
date.
it makes sense.
Right. Right, so in looking through this, and that's where it brought up in the conversation about our standard operating procedure, it's been a long time since we've looked at it. Just glancing at it, I can already see a few things that we do a little differently from when we originally put this together, as we have evolved over the past 8 years. So, my suggestion is, at this point, is for us to look at this, obviously, Mike, with input from you, because finance director's in here, but to really see what things have changed and what things we should probably update on here. And then I would suggest, we've got a little bit of thing in here on the budget, but maybe as we're going through the charter thought process or bylaw or whatever's gonna happen, actually put within our operating procedure the budget,
A more definitive.
a more
budget?
definitive
Oh,
budget
okay.
schedule that,
Process or
right,
schedule,
that
yeah.
meets, that,
Well, that, yeah.
that we go through, and then that way
Yeah, yeah, that
it's
makes
something, so
sense.
that way, I don't know if DOR is gonna come back, but if anybody ever asks, like, yeah, we have reviewed it, and this is, as we're going through these other processes of these thoughts, this is what the process is. Also, I think this would be good to have in writing, so that we can let the department heads know, yeah, this is the budget process, and when we say your budget is due this date, it means your budget is due this date. So, does that please the board?
Sure.
Sure, all right. And speaking of budgets, Mike and I spoke briefly, the upcoming schedule. The department heads are all, and you feel the budget schedule we did last year worked out?
I didn't hear any complaints, I mean, that, yeah, I heard them on the
Yeah.
Saturday, and when they had to appear on a Saturday, everybody wanted to be at 9 o'clock in the morning and be done with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that people would have to be here all day, would they? Or did you feel that that was important?
No, I didn't say but I thought they needed to be there for the half day that, whether they were scheduled in the morning
Oh, okay.
or in the afternoon.
Just so that they know what was going on with other department budgets.
Well, also, so we weren't waiting on them. If we scheduled someone at
Oh,
11 and we got
that's-
to take them at
yeah.
10 or something.
Yeah,
we
that's
could keep-
true.
We could keep cranking
If
along.
you go through a budget.
But it
Especially
worked
for
out
the,
well, though.
for the first
that was
time,
great.
we really
Yeah,
didn't
it
know how
really did
long it
work
would
out.
take.
Yeah, and it didn't take us long.
You
Right.
know, some of the small departments was boom.
Well,
Well,
they
it
always
was,
are. but-
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I thought that was a wonderful idea. Was that
thought it was
this
great.
guy's idea? I think it
our-
was.
It was our idea.
Hour.
Our
Oh,
idea. It was our idea.
it was a terrific idea.
It's
yeah.
no, it did. It worked out really
Worked out
well.
well, I think.
And I think it also, the aspect of not having full presentations, because the budget doesn't change all
That much.
that much, and being able to come in with the, with
Whatever
what
the
we.
changes
What are
are,
the
sort of,
changes, so if that's fine with you, Mike, and I like the process, the board, fine with the process and the schedule, if you wanna lay out your schedule.
Yeah, and it didn't hurt us missing that February meeting. We might not even have to start that early.
there's so little information we have
Right.
From
in
the state, yeah.
February. When did we have it? It was
We
late
had it in
March.
No, March 8th.
Yeah.
March 8th. Yeah.
What we need to do is
It-
put pressure on the state legislature to get their act together. You know?
That's-
I mean, we used to be able to get them long before now.
Yeah.
This goes back to Birmingham, when all this nonsense started.
Anyway, it's not gonna happen.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's not gonna happen, so if you want to
that's a-
put together the schedule, cause I think you did that last time, is basically, cause the schedule is basically for when you wanna send out your budget sheets, for them to get the budgets back to you, because, yeah, we can schedule our meetings when we, which is gonna be the third Wednesday of each month. And we'll take a look and follow the same idea that we did last year.
Right, if we have to have a meeting.
And we
here
had, and we
there.
had to fit, March,
Something.
March, we had a couple extra meetings in there because we had to.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge that I see, and it used to be two big challenges, it used to be the warrant not closing early enough. But the selectmen now,
Close it very early.
they close it very early now, because that was
Close
always,
the February 29th.
yeah, that, it used to be.
They didn't open it after that?
I think
For, we,
ten-
we put placeholders in.
Oh, and you
Um,
and then you sort of
Yeah.
fleshed
We
them out.
reopened it for those placeholders.
Oh, okay.
But we used to not, they used to not even close the warrant until like end of March.
I know, yeah.
It was a
yeah,
nightmare.
yeah.
So the second, and now the biggest challenge in my eyes, is that now we'll have a CPC representative, is the CPC articles getting voted on in a timely manner and getting to us.
I know they don't.
Because we can't get
Yeah.
our recommendations put into the book sometimes. This year I think we did, but that was under extreme duress and pressure, I felt. It wasn't,
Really?
so that is gonna be, that's one of the big challenges, but I think Ed's up to that. I think adds up to the challenge of CPC.
That's why I wanna go on there.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so that was really the only other thing I had was just the upcoming schedule, just to make sure to give you enough notice and to plan out for the CIP. And the schedule, and then that way everyone can plan accordingly and know what to know what dates they're gonna do, and if we're gonna book the first Saturday in March, that's fine. Last year, just so I don't know if you
Yeah,
gentlemen saw this, huh?
I was gonna tell you that
What?
you should talk to the,
Yes, I'm gonna, what we did last year, 2 years ago, we met every single week for budget, and it burnt us out, meeting every single week and going through all the presentations. So last year, we did a Saturday meeting, and we had a couple of departments who couldn't make the Saturday, so they came in on a couple other meetings. But we basically banged out all the departments in one Saturday session, morning and
It was like
afternoon.
9 to 5.
Yeah, and we brought,
It
I
wasn't
had.
that late. We didn't stay that
Well, it was
late.
4
We
or
were there almost
4:30.
till- we were almost there till
Yeah, it was
5, yeah,
close,
yeah.
yeah.
And so it was good, what was good was that we were able to hear almost the entire budget at one time. The town administrator / finance director was able to hear all of any changes and questions at one time. So he was able to actually compile everything at once, which was nice as opposed to having budget updates and changes
Yeah,
here and
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
it made it a lot more concise.
I have
Yeah.
a quick question. Did you have the budget before then, though, to go over it at
Oh,
all?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh,
get,
yeah.
the budget is due to Mike before Christmas, right? Yeah, he gets it now before Christmas, and then we receive the first draft copy of the budget at our first meeting in January, which is
Oh, okay.
the third Wednesday.
But you still have your regular monthly meetings until
Yeah,
that day?
yep, we have a regular monthly meeting, because we'll have reserve fund transfers, we'll take care of things like we're talking about now, the standard operating procedure. We'll go through that, we have minutes to vote on, we have, any other
Transfers and stuff like.
transfers, be looking at, we think in September, October, probably October, we'll be looking at anything that has to be done for fall town meeting. Any warrant articles that need to be reviewed, looking at moving money into the capital budget, if any other capital items need to get funded, so we'll be doing things like that. So it's taking care of a lot of other housekeeping issues in the months preceding the budget, and you still have some housekeeping, but then the months through January through April really are primarily budget and warrant articles. But the Saturday, you give up a Saturday.
I mean, we could have 4 weeks of meetings weekly that could probably go from 7 to 10:30 to 11. So to have all those 4 meetings condensed in an 8-hour period. I mean, from a time commitment perspective, it certainly alleviates the amount of time you
Yep.
and volunteerism, I guess.
You get to sit home in front of a crackling fire with a glass of wine a lot more often.
Yes.
When exactly is the town meeting? Is that in July or?
Early May.
No, it's the second week
Yeah.
of May. Second Monday in
The
May.
fiscal year starts on July
sorry.
1st, so it has to be in place.
Excuse me, it's the first
Has to be
Monday.
all in person.
It's usually the first Monday, because
Okay.
elections, the bylaw for elections is the second Monday of May. That is a bylaw. So if we ever want to put an override, or if there ever needs to be some sort of ballot that has to be voted on by town meeting first, it's voted at town meeting, and then it can go to the election, because otherwise, you would have to have, if you had town meeting after the election and say you needed to vote on something, then we'd have to pay for another election. So we try to make sure everything's lined up that way. I think we've only really pushed off town meeting once or twice, because the legislation.
Mostly because we haven't had any revenue information from the state. yeah.
But now we've gotten used to not having any revenue information from
We
the
don't-
state, so.
Sort of don't depend on them
So we
anymore.
just- yeah.
Crystal ball it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So, gentlemen, do you have any questions, any thoughts, questions for any of us members of the board that we can help you?
I guess my starting question, I'm Michael Hinchliff. I guess my starting question is sort of, some of the stuff you guys were talking about was over my head in terms of procedure and the special acts and that sort of stuff. Is there an opportunity to figure out what's going on and learn the processes?
The process, the process takes for you to learn the process, it really is a year, because it's hard to learn any faster than that, because municipal government goes in a year cycle. It's not like private sector where your revenues go up and down, you're always constantly changing. It is a year process. The town meeting is the same time every year. The budget gets done at the same time every year.
Right, and the rules that towns follow are different than the rules that private industry follows too. So, there's a learning process there. But most people that get on the board go through that. And I don't think we've snarled at anybody that asked the question.
No.
So, I mean, if you don't understand what we're saying, you just have to say, I don't understand. What are you guys talking
Right.
about?
And we try to be very conscientious about that when we're doing
About
something.
making sure people understand what we're doing and what your vote means, which is kind of important.
And the
But
process.
there is a lot of information out there. The State Finance Committee
That's true.
Association puts out a manual. Every town's a little different, but we all have to follow the same general laws. We can provide you with, as much information as you can handle or want, or more than you can want.
Yeah,
Really.
probably. And the state association actually has sort of seminars for new members. I forget exactly when they are and where. They're all over the place, actually. I think there's more than one.
Fall,
There's-
isn't
there's
it?
A day in the
there's
fall,
annual meeting-
probably.
Yeah, the annual
Uh,
meetings in the fall.
Yeah, but they have, I know they have new member sort of orientation seminar meetings.
But
So,
it is,
the fact that you don't, nobody understands it when they first start into this, so that's not a
and
biggie.
that's why Mike is the go-to person when it comes to procedure. Like, just when we don't always remember, do you have to nominate, do you not nominate? I mean, little things like that we won't remember. But a lot of us, and if one of us is remembering it correctly, will point out and make sure that we do it procedurally correct. And Ed's been on for just a year, Andy's been on for a few years, and I'm not even gonna say how long we've all been on. So there's a good cross-section of people coming on, and what's also good is, I think, with having new members, I remember when Nazri and Chuck asked questions, it's good for you to ask the questions, because there may be somebody sitting at home, we just know what it's supposed to be, but there may be somebody sitting at home watching for the first or second time and like, why are they doing that? And so it's good to ask questions, just to remind us the procedure, and then for those who are watching at home to understand what's going on.
I think it's been 4 years for me.
Has it been
Has it
4?
really been that long?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not counting the time you've been away.
The first year, you sort of sit and absorb, I would say.
And go home every night and go,
The
why?
second year, they make you do more work.
And then the third year you become chair.
And the fourth year, you have your second child, and you have to show up to any meetings.
By the
That's
time
how
you
it
get
goes.
to the budget book, by the time you
Yeah.
start reading the budgets,
Yeah.
you've got a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because essentially you can follow the conversation with the numbers. So it really does get easier that way.
As I think I said to both of you, the number one quality you really need to have is common sense. That's really what it is common sense, because
Yeah, that's true.
you only have so much money coming in. Can't create more revenue, you can't sell more product, because we're not that type of business, so that's always the toughest part. You had a question, Nick?
Well, I don't really have a question, I just want to introduce myself,
Yeah.
is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, my name is Nick DeMeo, and I actually grew up in Georgetown, and I think I had you for a teacher.
Right.
Yeah, because I was the last class to be in this building. We walked down to the high school with our books. That was a while ago. But I left Georgetown and I went to California and ended up in Maine. I don't know what I was doing, but I ended up in Maine, and I was in a small town called Buckfield, and I was on the budget committee for about 8 years.
Oh, so you have some experience
Yeah,
at this.
so
Oh,
really-
okay.
It did take a year to actually, wow, what is this all about? But, I don't think I would be a person that would figure it out and say I want to leave, because I already been through that process. And I was on the school board also there, and
Oh,
I like to be involved. I didn't, the reason why I joined the budget committee is because I didn't like going to the town meetings ignorant. And unfortunately, that's what happens to a lot of people when you hear the questions and they haven't done their homework. But to be a part of the process, you can really understand and maybe explain things to people in town that this is the way it is, and that's why I was interested in coming here.
oh, that's great though, that
Yeah.
you're somebody that has some experience. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we were talking, the budget committee he was on, they would do the budget though, and then they give it to the selectmen, and the selectmen
Yeah.
would completely change it.
Oh, is
That's
that right?
not
The
happening
budget committee,
here.
the selectmen would chew it up.
Oh, really? Actually, we have a very good relationship with
Yes,
those guys.
yeah.
That would never happen.
No,
No, I
No.
don't think they would, no.
no, it's just, and
Well, they
it's,
listen to the majority of it. but
no,
they
it's
don't
just,
have the time to really go through all the departments. They really didn't attend any of our meetings, so.
and that's the nice thing is there is a representative usually here from the Board of Selectmen listening, so
It
they can.
tends to,
input-
yeah,
right.
it comes to a lot of our meetings.
Right.
You're-
So, and
during
it's-
budget time, anyway.
Yeah, so it's just, and that's one of the nice things that is a bylaw in town, that the Finance and Advisory Board, it's their budget that gets presented. It's not somebody else's, because, and we work with the selectmen, but we're a completely unbiased board because we don't oversee any departments. So it isn't like we're having favoritism because we are actually, because the selectmen in some ways are department heads and appointing authorities for certain departments, so they could be potentially someone think a conflict of interest, and that doesn't happen with us. So it is a good process. Some people have tried to change us over the years, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's
It
otherwise
works.
it
Not like
works.
this Process, but.
Yeah.
It works. We have fun. We love to debate. So,
True.
but it's no. But the goal is basically is every meeting that we have. The goal is always to get out of there by between 7 and 9. Is to not go over 2 hours, because we're tired too. You know, a lot of us work during the day, and so that really is when we have our meetings. Like I said, only just coming up to town meeting, the only times that really may have a couple extra meetings, because you have to do votes.
We
That's it.
get
Any-
pizza. Right? Pizza before town meeting?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, we started being a little healthier. We started bringing salads now too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
See, you're gonna miss all that.
So, anybody else from the board have any
No?
words of wisdom
No.
for potential candidates?
I enjoy it.
A good sign.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I had a neighbor that was contemplating living outside Georgetown, moving, and I was telling him that going through the budget process, how I was favorably impressed by the way the town is run, how fiscally, conservative the town is, and how they pay their bills and everything else. And he stayed in town and bought a house in Georgetown, because when you can see the inner workings of the town, you can really see how everybody really does care about the town. It changes your opinion, and obviously that helps you change other people's opinions. So I think it's when you see people, particularly during the budget meeting, when you see everybody coming in, and they do everything so well, and they're taking everything so seriously, and they're looking out for the town's interests, you can't be anything but impressed.
Yeah, and a lot of department heads live in town, so it isn't just, that's their job, it's also their home, so. But, thanks, Ed. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, the next process for you gentlemen is to speak with Beverly Enos. She's the appointing authority. So, if you don't have her phone number, I'll give it to you when we close, and that way you can just give her a buzz and express your interest or uninterest, whatever it may be. And the meetings are the third Wednesday of the month, and they're here, except for a couple of workshops as we go through in the budget season on the second floor. Because those are meetings when we tend to have 8 conversations going on at the same time, and it gets very annoying on the microphones. So, trust me, I've gotten a lot of emails on that. Anybody have anything else for this month?
I think we're good.
Okay, so the next meeting is, I have to put the date. September 18th. And I will do that. Do we know when the next CPC meeting is, or offhand, or can you get that information to Ed?
I'll get it to Ed. I know he didn't have a quorum for his regular meeting and tried to schedule it. Hope it's not this week.
You gonna give me your telephone number?
This week or
yeah,
next
yeah.
week, maybe.
857.
What is it?
I'll get that information to you, Ed.
And I'd also like to speak to you about it in terms of how I interface.
You're an open member of the committee. It's just, the committee, the CPC committee is made up of, the 7 members are made up of
Tag list.
Okay.
members of the other boards that actually relate to what CPC is, which is anything regarding affordable housing, historical, open space.
So there is no
Has your house been sold?
interaction between,
It has.
one is independent of the other, in other words.
I've been trying to get over.
My being on this board is completely independent of being on the CPC.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, but you're a FinCom representative.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to get across, the definition of what that actually means.
Right, your opinion, but you, as a member, your opinions, you're a representative, but your opinions, your opinions to that board are not just what the FinCom opinions are.
Oh,
Is that what you're trying to get at, that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, now,
I mean, what are you thinking, that we sit around and tell you what to do?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay,
I
because
was
no, that isn't,
I was thinking that since I was the representative, there had to be a backflow of information from what was going on in terms of what I was doing. Being a representative of this board, did I have any responsibility to report back to this board on what I was doing there?
Well, you do. to the extent
Sometimes,
of what was
yeah,
discussed at the
sometimes,
meeting.
yeah.
yeah, sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Not verbatim, not every, you know.
everybody, not all the
but-
time,
right.
but, occasionally, yeah.
No, yeah, exactly, because you're there representing, because there has been no financial representative of the town as a whole there. And that's the idea of this one, because sometimes CPC is continuing on and they handling an awful lot of money.
I've noticed that.
They're handling an awful lot of money, and
And how they handle it, I think, is the concern.
there's
that
been
we
no
all have, and
input.
how they go about doing that.
Yeah, and there's been no
Right.
input from this board during the
Right.
process until the final articles come to us, which has been of concern to us. So is there anything, with you being you were a representative of CIP, is there anything that you can relate to how it worked with you being on CIP and coming back to us? Because you didn't really come back and report every single time.
Yeah, we didn't come back and report that much. No, I would say that probably being a representative from the finance board is when CPC presents some articles, it's articles that they have approved, and there's some articles that they haven't. So it's kind of getting a feel of why those things haven't occurred, because there's been some sort of head scratches in the past of why certain things weren't approved or certain things weren't funded, why other things were funded, and it just,
How they were funded.
and
even.
how they were funded.
That's
of course,
probably
is
a
another
biggie,
one. So
which is why we want somebody on there.
yeah, so I think having a sort of somebody who can speak to that a little bit more with
Yeah.
that, having that knowledge base to bring to this committee, I think is perfect. But as it relates to CIP, I mean, there's certain CIP initiatives that get funded through CPC, so you have some interaction there. But I think just having somebody sort of on the ground, if you will, to kind of hear all that stuff and be able to say, oh, the reason why XYZ wasn't funded just because of this, and they decided to go with
Right,
a
so,
cemetery fence
so
or
in
something.
effect, I can tip people off in terms of why things are done so that we don't waste a lot of time.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think come the Saturday you have when
Yeah.
CPC presents during that Saturday, I think that probably will go in 18 times more smoother than it would in the past, for sure.
Because everything I will get from them will be in some kind of context.
Yes.
When we get it here, we don't get it in the context it originally was envisioned.
And that's the concern, is that they're handling a lot of money, and there's no communication between what else, other things that are possibly happening in town financially, and just to hear things of CIP, or something else that's going on in CIP. It's keeping a loop of information
Yeah.
and communication open, as opposed to CPC working and not getting anything to us, so we can give some feedback if we see some issues and challenges. For example, this year, I think that when, because I was on the turf committee in the meeting, I was on the turf committee, but then when I went to the CPC meeting, I went as the FinCom chair. And there were some procedural things, and they had some questions, and they didn't have the answers to, but I had it, because of, that, no, why don't you do it this way? Why, and suggestions of financial and some things that they may not think of, because they're not part of
Right.
this board, so the knowledge of other things that are happening financially.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just, it's
yeah.
that type of thing, so that's, I think, and that was really, that was very clear to me that there was a vacuum. There was definitely a vacuum and a missing link there. Mike, do you have anything to add to,
No, you've covered it quite well.
okay,
So their website say they had, their next meeting was yesterday, but it doesn't go beyond that. So I don't know when the next meeting is.
okay. All right, well, I will, is Harry still the chair?
I would assume so, yeah.
Okay, I will let Harry know that, and I'll send your email contact out to the rest,
Okay.
and I'll CC you on that to the rest of their board, so that they can keep you in the loop on this now. Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Without further ado, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned at 7:55. Thank you very much for joining us.
So have you moved out yet?